Last time on Big Data Brews, Tomer Shiran of MapR talked about the company's focus.
Let's make Hadoop production ready or enterprise grade so people can actually run it in mission critical kind of use cases.
The functionality that companies are looking for.
They want true high availability, right? One that self-heals automatically. They want real consistent snapshots. They want disaster recovery across data centers.
And the open source projects and overall value MapR adds.
And I could go on and on with all these different projects that are either in the distribution or coming this year as fully supported projects in our distribution. And then we add our own innovation that provides value beyond what you're able to get, and actually kind of broadens the use cases that are possible with this platform.
Now for more Big Data Brews.
Welcome back to Big Data Brews with awesome hummus and pizza, and Tomer from MapR.
And Tomer. Well, that's how the hummus got here,
This is awesome.
It is.
So, and good beer. So, let's talk about a little bit about the Hadoop market and how you guys see it, and where is it standing? Where are the pain points? Where does it need to go to be successful? Like on a big picture thing, we talked a little bit about Spark and Storm. What are you guys thinking about that? Memory stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that are really happening right now in the market and are really important, and there's also a long way to go. I mean, this is kind of the beginning of that long run. I mean, you mentioned training for Ironman, so this is kind of like the beginning of that, the beginning of the run. But yeah, I mean, I think some of the dynamics right now are kind of the expansion in terms of the use cases, right? So, we've invested a lot and will continue to invest to make Hadoop suitable for analytics and operational use cases.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about Yarn. We just announced adding Yarn to our distribution, which kind of opens it up more from a processing framework standpoint. And I think if you look at really what's happening is, what we've done in the data platform and what's also now happening in the rest of the stack is expanding Hadoop to be a lot more than the original batch processing framework. And I think another thing that really needs to happen in the market is it has to be easier. It has to be a lot easier to build applications. The companies right now that are adopting Hadoop in a big way are the companies that have the resources, right? These are, look at most of our customers, these are the global 2000, right? And the technology companies, the Web 2.0. So that's the mix of companies right now. But if we're going to make this something that appeals to the broader kind of mid-market and beyond, then I think we need tools like, for example, DataMir, right? Where it's
totally.
Well, it has to become easier for the user to use, right? And it's and I think that's an area that will evolve a lot in the next few years.
Yeah, I think we see two sections, right? We see kind of the business user and of course our product there with DataMir, and then what we also see is we need higher level abstractions, right? Like we need Ruby on Rails for DataMir, where for Hadoop. Integrated in DataMir, of course, but kind of like make it simple, explaining people what MapReduce and why you can't, just put an object into a private method in your map function and why it's consistently, you just like, oh well, it doesn't work the way you used to work, right? So. I think that's we need to bring this a layer up too, right? We need kind of the Hibernate or the Ruby on Rails form.
Make it easier for developers and of course the analysts.
Yeah, we see this as two audiences, right? Where there's kind of data-driven products that people build. That's where they build companies on, and then we see kind of the really heavy traditional business intelligence community. That's kind of the focus where we see, right? And there's cool innovation that can come into the overall scheme with NoSQL and have that. Yeah. What are kind of the exciting new open source projects that may be too early, but you like keep an eye on? That you're like, oh, this is a cool GitHub project.
It's a great question. There's really so many of them. Every being kind of responsible for product management at MapR, I get a lot of requests from the field, as you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like every other day I get a question about some project X that was started probably 2 days ago in some remote country, and it's like, what do you think about this project? And I'm like, okay, well, we got to do some research because we're starting on a daily basis. But we're excited about a lot of these projects. I mean, Spark and that ecosystem are pretty interesting. They serve kind of a different set of use cases, or maybe actually some of the existing use cases in a better way. So things like machine learning, where you have iterative algorithms,
shared memory,
that shared memory across the cluster, and the machine learning algorithms can converge a lot faster, right? When they have that type of in-memory system.
So the way I think about Hadoop is a virtualization platform, right? Where VMware was kind of a physical machine, and then you had many virtual machines on top of that, and that totally disrupted the data center and how we deploy things. And Hadoop's kind of the opposite: many physical machine, one virtual machine. And so far, we had storage and we have compute, and now we get a little bit of memory. It's really early with Spark. Do you see? I mean, with you guys, there's a cool other file system like storage implementation that has all the good stuff you talked about. Where there wasn't a lot of innovation is kind of MapReduce. Right now we have Spark. It's kind of the memory. Do you see any kind of really cool stuff coming up there, or
yeah,
maybe
I think
you working on something, or
So the way I look at it, and I don't know if I can.
We do have a sponge. It's really old school here. It's like in my childhood.
This is the kind that doesn't scratch the pots. Just I don't know if you know that. If you've done any cleaning recently, but it is the curved one. They don't. They actually don't scratch your pans and pots.
Good. That's what I do. Actually, I work 12 hours a day here, and then I literally go home and usually clean up the mess from the night before, working late.
My wife would actually be proud that I actually knew that.
See, I got a San Francisco apartment, and the only thing it doesn't have is a dishwasher. I feel like back in the 60s. So I literally, you
use these things.
I'm an expert.
It doesn't get any better than that. Okay, so what was I gonna talk about? The whole stack, right? So if you look at kind of the way Hadoop started, right? Originally, you had HDFS, and then you kind of had MapReduce on top of this, right? So this was MapReduce. And then you had a few things that could translate into MapReduce. So you had things like Hive, and you had Pig, a few other things that could translate maybe higher level abstractions or languages into
cascading, data mirror.
Right, cascading, data mirror, and so forth. So a lot has changed since then, right? So the first thing that MapR did was we made this a lot more, much stronger, right? Much more general purpose, right? So we built the MapR data platform and introduced a fully read-write data platform supporting standard storage interfaces in addition to the Hadoop file system API, right? And it was great. I mean, Hadoop was really designed to enable that type of extensibility from day one, right? That's how Amazon, how Google plugged in their storage systems into Hadoop, right? There was a standard Hadoop file system interface, right? Later, what we did is we actually expanded this beyond files. So we expanded this to support not just files, but also tables, and made the data platform suitable for both kind of analytical applications, but also for live online applications, what we call the operational applications. And we have quite a few customers who have actually gone from Oracle to MapR. So they've made that transition there. Another thing that has actually happened in if you look at the distribution and the MapR distribution, as well as other Hadoop distributions in this case, is the introduction of Yarn as a more general purpose kind of resource manager instead of MapReduce, right? And that opens up the platform to a broader set of use cases that share the same compute resources, right? So now we have MapReduce as one example of that, and of course Hive and Pig here on top. But you also have things like Spark, right? And you'll have more of these in the future. Well, the really nice thing from the MapR standpoint here that's differentiated is that many of these new applications here, if you bring, for example, an HPC application, they really weren't designed for kind of the batch characteristics of HDFS, right? They expect a fully read-write system. They expect the ability to ingest data in real time. They expect all these characteristics, and so that's what makes this combination really, really powerful, right?
Yeah, so you don't need to, for a random read and write store, you basically already have that.
Yeah, because
Where
you have both on Yarn and also things that even things that don't support Yarn that can run on this platform here. Those things were not designed to talk to HDFS. I mean, there's tens of thousands of applications out there that weren't designed for that. Whether it's Elasticsearch or Vertica or many other things that can run on this platform.
So can you give us a few examples of this? You just said Vertica. What else are some cool beyond kind of the standards that you guys then can run on the MapR data platform?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one example is we announced a partnership with HP around Vertica, and Vertica actually runs natively on the MapR platform by leveraging these capabilities. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a read-write database, right? It needs a real storage system underneath in order to provide the full range of capabilities that it provides, right? On Hadoop. Other examples are things like Solar and Elasticsearch, right? Our customers, they if you look at from an integration standpoint, they use tools like R and SAS and low import-export utilities from Teradata and from Oracle, and they can use all these tools with MapR in a very easy way because they just mount the cluster, and those tools have existed for 15, 20 years. Everybody in the company is familiar with how to export from Teradata, and they can just export to a file, and that file just happens to be on this data platform.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit about MapR as a company and the history. So you guys are located in the South Bay. How big are you guys now?
So we've crossed 200 employees.
And all your engineering is in the Bay Area, or you said it's all?
Yeah, the majority of the engineering is in headquarters here in San Jose. We've actually been taking over suites in the building and just leased our second building. So a lot of expansion there. It's hard to keep up. We have a small team in Hyderabad in India. We have support teams actually in several different countries, including of course U.S. headquarters, but also we have support staffed in India in the same location as our engineering team there. We have a support team in Japan as well. So, so yeah, it's very very international.
And what's as a putting on kind of the entrepreneur here as a product manager, what are your biggest challenges and how you overcome them in such a fast moving market?
Well, there's a few different challenges. Well, one of the challenges that I think we all face now is just hiring. So I spend a lot of time recruiting, obviously. But in terms of the product, I think the key is to stay kind of focused, right? And there's a lot of distractions in this space, both from a company standpoint, different things that are happening outside, and what should we do about this? What should we do about that? But at the end of the day, I think the really important thing is kind of focus on the customers and what are they trying to achieve and what do they need in order to achieve the next set of use cases and be more successful, right? So that's really where you have to focus. And so I spend a lot of time with our customers and prospects and just understanding, what they're doing, what their use cases are, what challenges they have, and what do we need to do?
They usually, to me, if I talk with customers, and I love our customers and what they're doing, but they frequently come back and say, "I need a faster horse," instead of saying like, "Oh, I want to get faster from here to here." Right? They always have like, "Oh, you can do this by use that SourceForge project combined with this GitHub, and then hey, I wrote a little code. Why don't you put it in the product?" Kind of thing, right?
I think the key is to really understand what their problem is, what they're trying, what they want to be able to accomplish, versus kind of just how do you want it solved, right? Because if they don't see everything that you see, right, and it's not their core business, right? They're not spending all their time thinking about these different technologies and what can be done, right? And so a lot of times they'll ask for something specific, but you kind of really need to understand that what they really need is something else, or if we had this something else, we'd provide them with that value, but also provide a lot more value to 10 other or hundreds of other companies. So
at Data our product got bigger, the team got bigger, and what basically goes up is kind of coordination cost between the team, right? So you kind of slow a little bit down from an engineering perspective. How are you guys, really keeping the productivity high as you crazily scale the company?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we all wish engineering teams would scale like Hadoop does, right? Linear scale, right? It's just 10 people do twice the amount of work as 5 people.
Jesus. Let's figure that out, how to do that. And then,
but I think the key there, what we've done is we've kind of divided it into teams. So we have teams for these various Apache open source community projects. So we've a large engineering investment there, and then we have a separate group that kind of manages and is responsible for the resource management and MapR use. And we have another team for the file system, one for the kind of the integrated database. So and then another one for management. So we try to keep it into teams that and keep very clear and consistent APIs between them, so they can kind of develop independently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's a challenge like every other company. Right?
Yeah. We did something similar. I mean, we have a kind of a more integrated product. We couldn't split that up. And then what we recently did is that we defined a team that is not allowed to get bigger than 7 people. So if we have a challenge, like we work on a certain module, if it's getting bigger than 7 people can work on, we have to divide that kind of part of the product into multiple architectural subsystems. Just a crazy thing. So
you don't lay off the 8th person or something, or the weakest of the 8 once you get to 8.
If you get to 8, the person goes into QA.
I see.
No. We it's really interesting because it's really, as you said, right? As you really get to so much more developers, the productivity is just productivity drops if you don't do something creative are tremendous, right? Interestingly enough, though, we use our product to analyze our code, our Jira tickets, and our log files from the tests. And then we have a GitHub integration, and then we really can put that all together, and then we can say, I mean, I don't write code anymore, but if I would, it would say, hey, Stefan, you just broke the test suite. What cost us $6,000 to run against all the Hadoop distribution in EC2 cloud again? So, I mean, one of our biggest expenses is really running all the test suites, right? And we can actually pull it all the way down to your GitHub commit that then broke the test suite on our, anyhow.
Pretty advanced.
Kind of fun.
I am a big believer in eating your own dog food, though.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something we're big on at Microsoft, and we do a lot at MapR as well. Yeah. So
you use your own system.
We use MapR to analyze our dial home data. We use MapR to store our bug database, and we have Bugzilla on MapR.
Oh, cool.
So we use MapR.
Bugzilla? You wouldn't use Jira?
It's actually we actually have two different systems now. We're in a transition, I think, but yeah.
Is you guys using Git, or what's your code? Code version system?
Yeah, we're using Git right now.
Yeah. That was a big change for me from I started my life in CVS. I didn't do anything else before that. SVN, and then Git was just like, oh my God, there's like real merges, and it does it by itself. It's just, how's your product management process looks like? You said you start a lot of feature requests, requirement gathering on the customer side, and then how do you pull this through? Do you guys have a beta program or developer program?
So we have a product manager for each product that we have, and for a few different projects as well. And the way we do it is we spend, as a team, we spend a lot of time in the field, right? Listening to customers and talking to them, right? And we take that input as well as a variety of other sources of input, and we have to produce basically the product roadmap. So we work with the rest of the team at MapR to come up with what's our roadmap for the next 18 months. We go from there to kind of defining the requirements for the various for the next release and the subsequent releases, and then for big releases we'll have beta programs and we'll engage anywhere from 10 to 20 customers, typically in a private beta, to have them kind of work with the product and give us their feedback, and once we address that, we'll do our GA.
Yeah. So do you push it out and see if 5,000 people fail with it, like other open source projects do?
Our approach, I think, is a little bit different from our from our competitors, in maybe in that regard. We really treat Hadoop as an enterprise class system because look at these customers; they're running things that are mission critical, right? If it's down, they're losing millions of dollars every day, right? So you can't just put something out there and have your customer do QA for you. we've invested a lot in the QA team and QA automation and so forth.
Yeah.
And, it pays big dividends, I think, in the long run.
Any fun projects you're working on besides your day-to-day job? Do you still do kind of recreational code writing or any fun stuff beyond your day-to-day job?
Beyond my day-to-day, I'd say that the biggest project I have right now beyond my day job is teaching my daughter to ski. So I have my 5-year-old, and she did actually a bunch of black runs this weekend.
Oh,
so
wow!
Yeah,
you're going up to Tahoe or where?
Yeah, the snow. You're gonna ask me about the snow conditions there, but it hasn't been a great year. But at the same time, I mean, it's being out in the mountain and having snow and skiing is even if you can't ski the whole mountain, is awesome. So I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Wow. So and what's in the future for you, for MapR, for the Hadoop ecosystem? What do you think?
What do I think? Well, I think if you look at the trends in the market, IT spending is growing at about 2.5% annually. Data is growing at about 40% annually, right? So that's there's a disruption there that has to happen, and Hadoop is that disruption, right? And MapR is the company that's kind of bringing Hadoop to the enterprise and as well as the web companies with a production-ready distribution. I think we're in a great position to kind of fuel that disruption, and I think it's the biggest disruption really since the relational databases 30 years ago.
Yeah. So Strata was a few weeks ago. What was the highlights for you guys?
I think one of the things I heard actually from someone who I was talking to was that this year at Strata there were a lot more suits than previous years, which is a good sign of the Hadoop market maturing and the decision makers, from our perspective when you look at our customers, right, and the prospects, the decision makers being at the show and really kind of being more tuned into this big data revolution.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that was apparent at the conference. We had a few announcements ourselves. We announced Yarn and the MapR distribution. We announced the MapR Sandbox, which is a really nice, easy-to-use virtual machine that you can download from our website, from mapr.com, and learn Hadoop, get up to speed. It's kind of for somebody who's new to Hadoop and wants to look at, learn how to write code, how to run queries, things like that. There was also a great panel with one of the sessions at Strata with 4 Hadoop users, actually all of them MapR customers. So it was Climate Corporation, Cisco, IT, Solutionary, which is a managed security company, and the Rubicon project, which is an ad exchange. So they talked about how to achieve production success with Hadoop, which is what we help our customers do. I think one of the greatest comments I heard there was from Piyush at Cisco IT. He's their distinguished engineer and chief architect for big data at Cisco, and he was asked, well, how do you make Hadoop successful? And his response was that you have to get the architecture right up front, because if you can get the right architecture in place, then the conversations will be, how do we get value out of this? How do we increase revenue? How do we reduce costs? Things like that. Versus, how do we solve this issue with the name node, or how do we solve this issue with this open source project, and really an IT focused discussion as opposed to a business discussion. Yeah. And so, Cisco's been using our product for a while now, and it started with simple use cases like offloading the data warehouse, and then there was a use case that actually increased revenue by $40 million by providing recommendations to their channel partners on which opportunities to engage. But there's now over 12 different use cases running on in different business groups running on the cluster.
And your pricing model is % on the ROI, or?
We would have IPO'd a long time ago if that was the case. But it's a standard per node annual subscription type model.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much joining for Big Data Brews. Thanks for the awesome beer and the amazing hummus and pitas. You have to come back and bring more.
We'll do it again.
See you guys soon.